You're listening to episode number 30 of the Mind Body Masters podcast, and today's episode is titled The Emotional Origins of Pain. We're going to get practical here, team. So in this episode, I've also recorded it to YouTube. You might find this more valuable on YouTube because we are going to dive into each area of the body, and we are going to look at the emotional origins of musculoskeletal pain conditions as pertaining to the science of German medicine. So we're going to get super practical. If you're a practitioner, healthcare provider, or someone who has clients in pain, this is a must-have episode and something you're probably going to want to revisit again and again so that you can get incredible client results. So stay tuned, and if you want to check this out on YouTube, there'll be a link below here to do so. Welcome to the Mind Body Masters podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Jake Curry, chiropractor, mind body expert, and the creator of Mind Body Therapy and the NeuroShift. This podcast is for health and wellness professionals who want to become exceptional at their craft. Here I will help you master the emotional origins of pain and chronic disease so you can get life-changing results for your clients and grow your healthcare business from the inside out. So if you're ready to discover a modern, holistic approach to healthcare that will benefit even your most complex clients, set you apart with a unique point of difference, increase demand for your services, and help you offer virtual consultations, then this podcast is for you. So stay tuned. All right, welcome to this free training on the emotional origins of pain. I'm really excited to share this with you, and this is going to accompany the free guide that I've created, which you can find at mindbodymasters.com/guide. So if you haven't downloaded that already, be sure to head along and grab it. It looks a little like this right there. So what we're going to be covering today is we are going to be looking at the German medicine perspective of musculoskeletal pain, chronic pain, and persistent injuries. And what we find is that every area of the body has a particular flavor, as I like to say, or a particular type of conflict theme. So we're going to jump right into that. I'm going to draw lots of scribbling. So if you're listening on the podcast, you might want to tune into YouTube because I'm going to be recording this as well as drawing some stuff out for you. So who is this for to start with? Well, primarily this is going to really benefit any kind of health professional, manual therapist, or wellness professional who has clients struggling with pain. So chiropractors, physiotherapists, osteopaths, massage therapists, alternative healthcare providers, anyone who has regular clients turning up to their office who is dealing with pain. And what my intention for you for this is I want to help you to learn this work. So number one, you can get better results for your patients and clients. By the way, I'll use those terms interchangeably, but help get better results and better patient outcomes, better treatment outcomes for your work. Now, the reason that this is so important is when I was a chiropractor, I had patients that would never get better, right? I would do everything in my power to try and help them, but no matter what I did, their pain would persist. I also had another subgroup of clients or patients who would just never improve. They never showed any signs, but then as well, the ones who did improve, their pain would return in exactly the same way every week, every fortnight, every month. And for me as a practitioner, this was incredibly frustrating. And one of the things that I learned early on in my career in health is that your ability to generate results for your clients has a direct correlation to your business growth and business success. Because the thing is, if you can get results for your clients, they're going to refer, they're going to talk to people, and it's going to help you to attract more clients. And one of the things that I know with absolute certainty is right now there's people out there that have tried 1,000 different therapies, they've seen hundreds of different doctors and practitioners, but they're still in pain. If you can help those people, man, it has some dramatic influences into your business because they typically will sing your name from the rooftops and refer as many people as they can. And one of the other things with that is it helps you develop like a really good reputation, okay? Because a reputation where you're known for helping complex patients or tricky clients. When I first started doing this work, a lot of other chiropractors and physiotherapists would refer me their tricky patients whose pain wasn't responding. And this is really important because this is going to help you become more in demand as a practitioner, which is so cool. Now, if you combine all these three things in, what that's going to help you to do is it's going to help you to grow your business. as a healthcare professional. It's also going to help you feel more fulfilled. It's going to help you feel really excited about your work. So that's why I'm sharing this with you. And if you are someone who has clients who are struggling with pain, this is going to be a game changer for you. When I first started learning this work, and more importantly, applying this work with my own clients, I was able to finally start getting results for those patients that had tried everything and were still struggling. Okay, so that's it. That's the goal here today. This doesn't necessarily need to replace what you do. Like, you don't need to, like, you can use this work online, which is how I use it, but you don't need to do that. You can be a chiropractor and still see your patients in clinic and just add this on. You can bolt this work on to whatever you're doing already, whether it be craniosacral therapy, massage, acupuncture, rehab exercises. If you just learn to bolt this on, and what we're going to cover today is learn how to ask the right questions, this is just going to dramatically increase these three things and help you really improve your results. Okay, so what we're looking at here is this little image of a skeleton. Each area corresponds with a particular type of conflict, and we're going to get into each of these, maybe not necessarily all of them, but we're going to go over the most common ones that we see. Now, this is all based on the work of German New Medicine. Now, German New Medicine is something that I've been studying for the last 11 years, since 2014. And I've been using it with my clients since around 2015, and using it exclusively in an online format since about 2018. And I've been teaching this work to other healthcare professionals since about 2020. Okay, so this work is incredible. It's a true game changer, and it's something that I believe that every healthcare professional and provider should be learning when they do their degree, because learning how to address the stress and emotional side of pain doesn't need to be difficult. And this work, German New Medicine, is essentially the roadmap. It helps you to understand what types of pain are caused by what types of problems, and it's all been backed up with case studies and brain scans and all this wonderful stuff, so you don't have to think. Okay, so with pain, with musculoskeletal pain, the primary what we call conflict theme is what we call a self-devaluation conflict. So I'm just going to bring up another page here. But the primary theme that we see is what's known as a self-devaluation conflict. Okay, so that is essentially what it sounds like, right? A self-devaluation is when you feel as though you are worthless, not enough, not good enough, or these are pretty much the two core themes of that. It's like you're feeling worthless, not good enough. It's a loss of self-worth in regards to something. So all of these conflicts are pertaining to a form of self-devaluation, but different areas in the body are going to correlate with different flavors of self-devaluation, which is what we're going to look at today. Okay, so one of the things that we know with from German New Medicine, and I go into far more detail on this in our program Pain Mastery, which is where I teach this work to healthcare professionals. But one of the things that we see is that, I'll just quickly draw you this diagram, is when you experience some kind of unexpected stressful event, it sends your nervous system into a prolonged state of sympathetic activity. And after a period of time, that event will finish. But during this, what we call conflict phase or conflict active phase, while the individual is stressed, while they're going through some kind of emotionally distressing event, we see muscle breakdown. And we see this is a process that occurs painlessly. There's no pain during this conflict active phase. Much like going to the gym, if you do 1,000 bicep curls, that's going to cause muscle breakdown in your bicep, but you don't feel the pain until the gym has ended. You usually feel the pain a few days later. So one of the key takeaways is when these conflicts will show up in the body is after a period of stress has actually come to an end. And this is when you'll get things like inflammation, swelling, and most importantly, pain and like heat around the muscles. This is where you'll typically get the symptoms of pain. So all of these conflicts are showing signs of what we call a healing phase. and the pain will actually come on after the conflict activity has finished. However, for a lot of people, they will get caught, something will remind them of that original event, and then they'll be back in that cycle, and they will just loop back and forth between conflict, active, and healing. And this is where we see people get persistent injuries, chronic pain, and where those things just never seem to improve. So it's crucial to break that cycle and identify what the emotional origin of that conflict is specifically, so that you can actually help your people, which is really important. I'm just going to change a quick little setting here. Beautiful. All right. So let's jump into it now. So let's look at this graph here. So we now know that the type of pain that shows up at the body stems from that self-devaluation conflict. And the type of flavor that it is going to reflect where it is in the body. Now, if it's on the left-hand side or the right-hand side is determined by something called your handedness, which I won't go into today, but if you have questions on that, feel free to ask me. We actually have a really amazing 7-step process that I go through in Pain Mastery, which is the exact 7 steps that you need to be going through and how to ask the questions in the right order so that you can get people out of pain like that. So you can get people out of pain in a matter of minutes, not weeks, not months, okay? So we'll jump into that. If you want more information on the Pain Mastery program, there will be a link below where you can join the waitlist. Okay, so let's get into it. Let's start at the top here. Let's start with number 2, the jaw. Okay, so I'm going to cover these relatively quickly. So the jaw correlates with what we call a bite conflict. So a bite conflict is where you want to bite someone, where you want to rip someone apart, where you want to yell and scream at someone, but you feel as though you can't. Maybe because it's your kid, maybe because it is your boss, and there's like a hierarchical thing where you want to bite them, where you want to rip shreds off them, but it feels like you can't. Often this one is accompanied by lots of anger, lots of frustration that are associated with it. Okay, so let's look at the cervical spine. Oops, my pen's skipping out. So this is where you essentially get neck pain, right? Now there's 2 types of conflicts that cause neck pain. The first one is what's known as an intellectual self-devaluation. So this is essentially feeling like you are stupid, feeling like you are dumb, feeling like you have made a bad mistake. Okay, these often will come on through comments when people are maybe questioning your intelligence, insulting your intelligence, calling you stupid, the like. So these can often come through the form of comments and accusations made by other people. The other type of conflict that affects the cervical spine is what we call an injustice. So this is also known as a moral ethical conflict, which pertains to morals and ethics. And the most common thing that we see here is when something that happens that is unfair or unjust, or you were treated poorly. Okay, so this is what we see with the cervical spine. Now again, in the guide, this guide down here, the emotional origins of pain, I've outlined a whole heap of questions that you can ask your clients so that you can actually get to the bottom of this. All right, so let's dive into the shoulder now. So here we have shoulder pain. Now, shoulder pain is what we call a relationship self-devaluation conflict. Now, the really simple explanation for this one is where you feel as though you are guilty or feel as though you've done something wrong by someone. So a great example, I had a client once who had months and months of shoulder pain. Within 5 to 10 minutes, I said, when this pain started all those months ago, where was it that you had something unexpected happen where you felt particularly guilty? And this guy had promised he would take his daughter to, I can't remember, like a theme park or something. And he never did it because he was busy with work and he was under a bit of financial stress, so he never did it, even though he said he would. And his wife made a comment about that, saying, you promised our daughter that you would take her to this theme park. And those comments really caught him off guard, made him feel quite guilty. So helping him identify that, helping him understand the connection between his mind and his body was really useful in terms of helping him to heal that, okay? So, all right, let's move on. Let's go to number 7 here, which is like the thoracic spine. So the thoracic and the lumbar spine kind of run together, but they just have different themes. So the thoracic spine, or I'll start with the lumbar spine actually, makes more sense. This is what we call a support conflict. So a support conflict can work one of two ways. It's either I'm not getting enough support, or I can't give enough support. So a great example of that would be not getting enough support is if you were in a work environment and your boss was very demanding and giving you lots of stuff but not giving you any recognition. That could be something that produces this. Financial stress often shows up as a support conflict. So I can't support myself. I can't get enough support. But conversely, I can't give enough support. So one of our students recently helped a lady with 9 months of sciatica. And her conflict was wanting to support her terminal parent. But because they were in a different country, it was very difficult for this person to do so. So that was one example of I can't give support. The thoracic spine is similar to a support conflict, but there's a lot of a theme of embarrassment. Embarrassment there. Feeling humiliated is another example. Alternatively, it can the feeling of being like that old saying, stabbed in the back, that pertains a lot to the thoracic spine. Had a great example of this years ago. There was a lady, I was at a workshop. She had raging, like 9 out of 10 thoracic spine pain. Just came on for no reason, which is a sure sign that there is some kind of emotional link there. So I said, hey, do you mind if I ask you some questions? Wanted to help her out. And she's like, sure. And I said, where was it that you felt like you didn't get the support that you needed? Where was it that you felt like you'd been betrayed or stabbed in the back by someone? And she told me this story of how she was working at this legal firm and she'd been there for years. She went up to her boss and said, hey, I'd love a raise. What can we do about that? And the boss was like, I'm sorry, we just don't have it in our budget to give you a raise. We're really strapped. And she's like, okay, cool, I get it. But anyway, 2 weeks later, that same boss turned around and hired 2 additional people in the role that she fills. And she felt very betrayed. She felt very unsupported because this boss had come out and said, hey, we don't have the budget. But then he went around and hired 2 people. Her pain went away that day, which was incredible. It actually came back when she got an email about some upcoming work stuff that needed to be completed. So that was an example of this loop that people get caught in, where things remind them of the original conflict and the pain will flare back up. All right, cool. Let's look now at the hands. So here we're looking at things like carpal tunnel, maybe rheumatoid arthritis, these kind of conditions. And this is what we call a manual dexterity conflicts. Okay, and so what this pertains to is feeling as though you've made a mistake with your hands, feeling useless, or feeling like you've messed something up. So a great example, I had a really sore wrist back when I was a chiropractor for a number of weeks. I know a lot of manual therapists who get sore wrists. I was always just like, oh, I'm using my hands so much. But there was one patient, and no matter what I did, I couldn't adjust her. Like she just wouldn't, the adjustments wouldn't happen. So every time I saw her, I was feeling as though I was doing something bad with my hand. I was making a mistake. Once I made the connection, had the awareness around it, the pain went away, never had it again. Another example of a manual dexterity conflict would be if your job involves something quite manual task, like say you are a jeweler and you make a piece for a client and the client turns around and goes, that is horrible, I hate it, you are useless. You might perceive that as a self-devaluation around the theme of manual dexterity. Shared an example on the podcast recently of one of the first clients I ever helped. She had wrist pain that showed up out of the blue. She was a hairdresser, so using her hands to cut someone's hair, the lady asked for her hair to be cut shorter. She cut the hair shorter, but then the lady turned around and screamed and yelled at her, saying that she'd ruined her hair. So she experienced this manual dexterity conflict where she felt as though she had done the wrong thing or made a mistake. All right, let's look at, let's go to the hip now. So the hip is a really common one. And when people say the hip as well, a lot of times people refer to the SIJ, which comes under the category of lumbar pain. So lumbar pain also correlates with things like sciatica and disc injuries. Okay, so that also pertains to the lumbar spine. Whereas hip, this is what we call a burden conflict. So this is most commonly represented in a feeling of overwhelm or feeling as though I've got too much on my plate. Okay, so this is an example of that. I had a great case once of a lady who was dealing with hip pain. Her mother was elderly, lived on a big property, and so this lady would work all week, and then of the weekend she would head to her mother's house to do the gardening in the middle of summer because it was everything was growing so quickly and she just felt like she had too much on her plate. Okay, another example of this is what we call a stuck conflict. Stuck conflicts can affect any part of the body. They do tend to affect the hip a lot, which is where you feel like you can't move forward, you can't move past something, or you can't actually, you feel trapped, you feel stuck, you can't run away, you can't escape. All right, let's jump in now to the knees. This is what we call a physical performance conflict. So a physical performance conflict is around your ability to be your physicality. It's a self-evaluation regarding to your physical performance. So oftentimes when people feel too slow or too old, their knees start to go. And it's not because their knees have got wear and tear and the cartilage is disappearing. It's because they're running a physical performance conflict. They can't compete at the same level they used to. They can't run as fast as they used to, and they're beating themselves up about this. You often see a lot of professional athletes, the thing that will end their career is bad knees. And often because if they're playing a really fast-paced sport, as they get older, the younger generations start coming up, and then they start to feel like they're too slow or too old. So this is a really common one for athletes, and it comes down to devaluing your ability to perform and devaluing your skills and your speed. You can also get this from a figurative sense, like feeling as though you just can't keep up with things. I once had a client who was a sign writer, and he was just always so far behind with all of his jobs. And I talked about that, about where do you feel like you can't keep up. Can't keep up. So that's another example of this. And that can be literal or figurative. Okay, so figurative, it might be you can't keep up with the deadlines at work, you can't keep up with your finances, you feel like you're falling behind with schoolwork is an example of this. Okay, and let's lastly look at the feet. This is similar to the physical performance conflict, but it also pertains to balance. And so on top of the physical performance conflict, so feeling like you're not fast enough or feeling like you are not quick enough or you can't keep up, one of the other good ones that I think about and use when I'm with clients is the feeling of treading on eggshells or walking on eggshells. So this is a really interesting one where, like, imagine having to walk on eggshells. You'd actually have to be quite light on your feet. And so you'd feel like you'd need to be quite dexterous and balance quite well. And so if you're in a situation where you can't talk about something or you don't want to upset someone, your feet might play up in that sense there as well. All right, so there's obviously a fair few more there, but these are some of the main conflicts that we see. And learning how to address this, as I said, is one of the most critical things that I think every healthcare professional should learn, because you can do it just by asking a few questions. And so in the this guide here, which you can find at mindbodymasters.com/guide, there you go. this outlines some of the questions to ask for your client. So if it was knee pain, where do you feel like you're too slow? Where do you feel like you can't keep up? Where are you devaluing your physical performance or physicality? And so learning to ask these questions is how you can actually get people out of pain quite quickly. Now, this guide is going to be a great start for you. It's going to get you moving in the right direction and hopefully get your first win. But if you want to really master this, if you really want to become an expert in chronic pain, persistent injuries, and be seen as the go-to person for tricky cases and pain conditions that don't seem to improve, which I highly recommend doing because it's very rewarding and also helps grow your business. Be sure to come and join us for the Pain Mastery Program. This is a program specifically for healthcare professionals, manual therapists, and people who have clients who are struggling with pain. And it's an 8-week course where I take you through all of the science of German medicine, all of the different conflicts. We go through various case studies, but most importantly, I teach you those 7 steps of how to actually apply it in a consultation process so that you can get results really quickly with your clients. So in that, I'll also teach you a technique that I created called the neuroshift, which is a way of helping people to quickly reorganize these stressful events that they have in their mind, helping them to think and feel differently about them. It's a technique that uses muscle testing, eye positions, and a few other cool stuff. So if you want to come and learn that as a tool that you can quickly use in a session, it takes like 5-10 minutes to run this protocol with your clients. That is also included in the program. So I will pop a link below this on how you can join the waitlist. It's not currently open for enrollments, but go and join the waitlist for that if you're serious about mastering this work, getting exceptional results for your clients, potentially life-changing results for your clients, and being able to understand all of these various links. So awesome. I hope you found this useful. I hope you found this insightful. And one of the things I want to say is it's not that difficult to apply it once you've got the framework, the science, and the experience with this. It can be really quick and easy to get results for your clients. But there's just those 7 steps that you need to go through to know how to ask the right questions and when to ask the right questions. But that guide that I've got there for you will definitely get you started. But as I said, if you want to really master this work and start getting results like some of our past clients, past students, who are just getting some crazy results for their people, helping people overcome like 20 plus years of pain in like a single session. That's not uncommon. So if you want to start getting results like that using this work, be sure to come and join us and I'll take you through this process. Anyway, thanks so much for listening. I really appreciate you being here. Don't forget to get that free guide to follow along. Maybe go back through with the guide, listen to this, watch this again. And please, if you have other healthcare professionals, friends, colleagues that you think would benefit from learning this work, just send it to one person. That's all I ask is share this with one of your colleagues, someone who could really benefit from using this work and get more out of it. Get better patient results, get life-changing results for their patients, and really become a mind-body master. Anyway, thank you so much. I'm Jay Curry. I will see you in the next episode. Take care.